Hi. Today I wanted to talk about managing conflict over the holidays. For many people, we celebrate Christmas, and this can be a huge pleasure for a lot of families, and for some, not so much. It comes with a lot of pressures in terms of spending time with people, in terms of having everything done, feeling like it has to be perfect. So, just wanted to think a little bit today about how we manage that conflict. It's important to remember that even the most harmonious of families, it can get fraught. We're not used to spending that much time together. I mean, maybe a bit more after the lockdowns now, but certainly not usually. We're all kind of shut up together, and also because the weather's usually not that great. So just be aware that, even if you are a family that usually kind of rub along okay, it may become difficult over the holidays. And also there's things like everyone's tired. It's often a long term if you've got kids, the dark evenings, darker mornings, cold weather, like I said. Again, if you've got kids and maybe as an adult, excitement. So, you've got a lot more kind of going on emotionally than you usually would. That pressure, as I said, to be perfect, to have everything done and, all the twinkly lights and, even if you're not celebrating Christmas, it's holiday time, businesses are closed, etc. And also that pressure to see everyone that you want to see, family, friends, all those people that you usually don't get to spend a lot of time with. We often put a lot of pressure on ourselves to see everyone. So I kind of split it into three areas. So the first one is managing expectations. First of all, it's managing your own expectations. You can only do so much. So maybe it's about prioritizing, thinking about those events or the things that really mean something to you. Personally, for me, I like to have a real Christmas tree, and that's something that actually really matters to me. So I can take or leave mince pies, for example, so I'm not too worried about that kind of thing. So it's about finding what it is that really matters to you, really means something to you, and maybe shifting your focus to that instead of trying to do a little bit of everything. Maybe think about actually what are the really meaningful things. It could be a church service, it could be a walk with the family, it could be anything. It doesn't have to be a thing like a tree. And focus on those, give your energy to those things that really matter. And also delegate. I know sometimes people can feel like they have to have everything perfect, but actually the other members of your family or your friends, whoever you're spending that time with, also have skills. So use them. You don't have to manage all of it. It is okay to ask other people to do things, and also, like I said, to use their skills. Everyone's good at different things. It's also about managing other people's expectations, particularly, again, if you have children. Again, you can only do so much, and that's okay. So perhaps it's doing the same thing with them, kind of what really matters to you, what's really important, and asking them to choose something. And, maybe it'll be the same things. So it could be that you all decorate the tree together, or that you all go to a specific event together, choosing something that really matters that you can focus on. And like I said, letting some of the other stuff go. You don't have to do it all. And I think it's important for your family or your friends, whoever you're spending time with, to understand that too. And then you can really enjoy the activities or the things that you actually choose to do. Also, if you ask people when they're older what they remember about the holidays or Christmas time, it's the things that they've done. It's not the presents they've got. And actually, if I think back, it's not the presents I got. I couldn't tell you what I got when I was 10. But I remember who I spent the time with and what we did, and that kind of thing. So also, financially manage your own and your family's expectations around what you can afford, what you want to spend. Maybe instead of just kind of going out shopping and buying everything, actually set a budget, sit down and think about it, talk about it, with your partner, if that's the case. And, really, because then also you can be more thoughtful. If you're buying gifts, you can actually perhaps really spend money where you want to, rather than ending up spending loads and feeling like you haven't really achieved a lot. So I think it's important to manage everyone's expectations. The Christmas adverts are the worst. I think they put a lot of pressure on everything to be twinkly and lovely, and it's not always. So in terms of managing actual conflict over the holiday time, think about it beforehand. Maybe make a plan. So as I said before, we're not used to necessarily all being under the same roof. No clubs going on, no other activities. it can get a bit fraught, and sometimes I think we can get a bit bored because we have this expectation that everything's going to be twinkly and lovely the whole time. You end up getting a bit, well, why aren't I having a wonderful time all of the time? So, the tensions can rise quite quickly and quite easily. So maybe think about that beforehand and think, right, how can we give each other some space in our household? It could be somebody goes for a bath, someone goes for a walk, someone nips to the shops to buy something that you've forgotten, or even just to get some milk or anything. How are you going to manage it so that everybody gets some space? That send the kids up to their bedrooms, not as a punishment, but to play with their toys or even on devices. Just so that everybody gets that little bit of space away from each other that we're actually used to having during the day. It's really normal and fine to get on each other's nerves. So I think part of it is just planning and not having that expectation that everybody is with each other 24/7, because that will usually lead to conflict, even in the most harmonious of families. So I think it's important to just manage that. It can be tempting to relax your boundaries as a parent over the Christmas period, because you want everyone to have a lovely time and it all to be wonderful. For some children, that can actually make them feel quite unsafe. So I think just consider your family and how everything works, and just bear that in mind, that actually if your children really thrive with the boundaries, it may be that if you just kind of remove them all, they might start to push against you a little bit to find those boundaries again. So as much as you might want to let them stay up late every night, eat their body weight in sugar, and just like I said, the usual boundaries that you would have, just think about it. I'm not saying don't have a lovely time and be a fun sponge, but it's worth bearing in mind that actually if they are playing up, maybe some of that is around that they're just feeling a little bit insecure because their usual safeties have just disappeared. Also keep it in perspective. If you do have conflict, does that mean that Christmas is ruined? Throw the turkey in the bin, or whatever you're doing, or actually is it just a moment? And usually, do we have those moments? So I think keep it in perspective. Just take a breath. Do the usual consequences if you need to with people. Talk to your partner as you usually would. How do you usually deal with conflict effectively within your house, within your relationships? Use those same skills. And actually, as I said, it's a moment and it will pass. And yes, you might be annoyed and you might need to do something to manage that. But actually, it will pass and you can continue to have a lovely time. So, kind of try and manage those moments and just think, okay, it's happened. It's not going to ruin the entire event. Let's just get on with it. So, yeah, kind of keeping it in perspective. And I think it's, like I said to you earlier, the Christmas adverts and stuff, make it look like it's supposed to be like that the whole time. That's just not feasible. I mean, you have to brush your teeth. That's not festive or holiday-like, is it? So it's also just kind of noticing those moments when they happen. When you have those twinkly moments, notice it, because your entire holiday period is not going to be like that. It's about, again, being realistic with that. And you have the twinkly moments, you have the difficult moments. That's life. And that's really okay. So I think it's just, again, as I say, about keeping in perspective and managing conflict as you usually would. Don't let things go or whatever because to keep the peace. If you need to have that conversation with your partner, have it the same way you usually would. Because actually you're entitled to enjoy the holidays too. And that leads me on to the third point, which is looking after yourself. So I think a lot of people can feel under a lot of pressure to spend time with people because they are blood related to them, when actually it's not safe or healthy to do so. So you don't have to. You have my permission, if that means anything. You really don't have to. I think you can feel a huge sense of duty or guilt around this time of year, particularly if somebody is going to end up being on their own. But just because you are related to them by blood doesn't mean that they are family. I think family means something else. I think family means mutual love and respect. And if that's not something that you have with the people that you are blood related to, maybe ask yourself if it is safe and healthy to spend time with them. The other thing to think about is, will it be any different just because it's the holidays? Again, I think we can often romanticize it and think, oh, well, it would be so lovely if just for once they didn't argue with me or put me down or make me feel like crap. Just because it's the holidays doesn't mean they're not going to do that. So, again, be real about it. Is it going to suddenly be a Christmas or holiday miracle, or is it going to be the same as it's always been? And actually, the other thing to remember is that you're reacting to their choices. They've chosen to behave in the way that they do towards you, and you have a choice as to how you react to that. And part of that choice may be to not have any time with them over the holidays, because actually it's not good for you, and it's not good for your family, it's not good for your friends. So, think about that. And I'm not saying what you have to do. You got to do what you feel is right. And I mean, it may be that actually you think, okay, I can't not see them at all. That doesn't feel right to me. But then you can be boundaried around the time that you give them. You can say, I've got a 2-hour slot, or I've got an hour. And, you can be quite boundaried with how much time you give them so that you can manage it that way. Or you can arrange to meet in a neutral place so you don't have to invite them into your home, or you don't have to go to their home. You could say, oh, let's meet up for a Christmas or holiday hot chocolate, and meet them somewhere neutral, so that, again, you can manage when you leave or when they leave, so that you don't feel so under pressure in your own environment. The other thing to do is maybe do something different. If Christmas, the holidays, is a difficult time of year for you, think outside the box. Go to the beach. You might live by the beach, so that might not be fun. I don't live by the beach, so for me that would be fun. Go and see friends, who are your family. Just think, like I said, think outside the box. Think, what would I like to do? Go and help in a soup kitchen, help somebody else. There are lots of things to do to kind of help with that loneliness, and also to make sure that you're not putting yourself in situations where you may end up feeling that you are having to manage conflict the whole time. Just don't be afraid to ask, I think. If you want to be with people that are good for you and that you are not going to be, it's not going to feel too fraught, hopefully, then ask. Most people are feeling pretty generous around that time of year. So I think the thing to remember is keeping it in perspective, and like I said, managing conflict the same way that you usually would within your family, whilst also being aware that it probably will happen and having some preparation for that, and not feeling that sense of duty to go into situations that will probably lead to conflict, and lead to you feeling pretty rubbish. Christmas is supposed to be about love, not duty, and you are entitled to enjoy it just as much as anyone else. So I think, be realistic and have a lovely time. Thank you.